I want to thank everyone for their patience as I prepared my video for showing off my custom hack of the Dave Graffam Models Crane House of Rake's Corner Dice Tower. I'm showing you both models actually in frame at the moment, and I'm going to take the dice tower out of frame, and I'm going to show you the stock build real quick and show you some details so that you can reference them back in the dice tower. First thing is the base. It's this model and the dice tower were built at 28 to 30 millimeter scale, so these, you'll see immediately that there is a square, almost a battle mat sort of grid on the base, and that's carried all the way through to the back. In fact, I'm on a battle mat at the moment, so you can kind of almost see that 28 millimeter, 30 millimeter scale. The model is single walled, so there's a bit of flexibility to it. That, of course, can be some of the recommendations of building these models is to add a double wall of just plain cardstock on the inside to give it a little bit more heft. There's a very nice detail in the wood grain as well as the stonework. The crane house is nicely detailed. Probably some of the more difficult pieces of building this model are the cantilevers here holding up this side dormer and this hook detail, cutting out that hook. There are some recommended tips using a circle template and a couple other things. I've found generally cutting out the hook to be difficult regardless of templating, and there's probably better ways of doing that. It could be the scale of the hook, it could be a number of other things. It could just be the detail of the hook. The roof is nicely detailed, and it's not intended to be removed. There's no interior detail to the model. None of the doors are open in the stock build. The chimney is nicely detailed with some stonework as well as brickwork and an opening detail at the top. That's the stock model. I'm going to do take note though of this door. It'll come into play in the hack in a moment, and this is a window. It will also come into play in a moment as well as I show the dice tower. Let's move that off to the side. Let's bring the dice tower into frame. So immediately you'll notice I've cut the door out and widened the hole. Now when I built this model, I printed off three models. Two were used to build the tower itself. So this is a double-walled tower, and to achieve the interior detail, I printed off one normal and another one mirrored, so that when they were pasted together or glued together, you'll see here's the exterior window here. On the interior, that window was then replicated on the opposite side. I cut this window out to give it sort of an additional damage effect. You'll see some smoke details throughout the model. On the exterior, I used a black Prismacolor and a pencil rub to achieve some of these smoke details. Did that here on this window and this window as well. I also did that on the roof. Now on the interior, I previously had shown how I achieved those smoke details using black spray paint and some cotton wadding. I did that for some of the larger pieces that needed to be done. Now inside, to create the dice tumbler, so if we're looking at the side here, the dice tumble in such a way as they come in, they hit a second floor that's collapsed. It's about half, that spans just under half at a 45-degree angle, this floor level. And the intention is the dice, of course, would come in here, bounce off this far wall, then hit this floor, which is also detailed out to be collapsed at a 45-degree angle, and then eject out the door, the collapsed or damaged door. And we can see here in this detail that collapsed floor. That's also been done with a Prismacolor black. I also additionally added in a detail to the floor by duplicating the base. Because I had three models, I used one of the bases and put that floor in there to provide that interior detail that was not present. Now the cutout door from the original model was put into this corner to sort of aid dice coming out and not getting stuck into this corner. So the dice now bounce off that door, and it appears to be swung open and the floor is collapsed on it. and now the dice eject out into what I call the dice cage. And I had 3 models to work from, so I basically reproduced all of the freight boxes and put them off on, hanging a little bit off of the edge to provide enough room in there to get my hand back into the dice cage and removing the dice. This is actually detail that if I do this again, I would probably double the size of the base so that I could create a larger cage to get my hand in and remove dice a little bit more easily. And it wouldn't be so cramped here around the exit. Now, interior-wise, the light's been playing pretty well. We can see that second floor again. That's the dice. That's one of the dice tumblers. We can see that interior detail. And of course, I cut the roof in half. I'm only using half the roof, as you can see. And because I had 3 models to work from, I actually used a second chimney and inverted it and put it in there to provide an additional dimension detail to the model. I cut away the brick details of the original chimney to give it sort of a collapsed and damaged look as well. That is the dice tower model. Let's see it in action. Let's try a D20. Ooh, a 3. Surely a miss, unless you have some pretty good ranks in your skill. Try 2D10. Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. 85. Surely a miss. 58. Probably a body hit if it had been... well, since it was miss, clearly that player is going to die. Of course, because the dice cage is so small, it doesn't really work very well for large dice pools, say Shadowrun or Marvel Superheroes role-playing using the Cortex system. I hope you've enjoyed the presentation. Thank you very much. Go out and build this model. It's a lot of fun.